Hi there, my name is Brittany Bishop. I am a teacher at Lake Travis Middle School and I teach sixth grade science. I'm here to introduce you a little bit to a new website called Pear Deck and just kind of go through some of the nuts and bolts and beginning of how to use Pear Deck. So, first, let me begin with talking about what Pear Deck is. So, in my opinion, Pear Deck is the new and improved way to instruct students. It's a way for them to interact with you, to give feedback, formative assessments. I'm going to show you a quick video of what Pear Deck is.
Pear Deck will change the way you present slide decks in a live classroom setting. When you hit Start Presenting in Pear Deck, you're creating a live session for participants to join on their own computer, tablet, or smartphone. As the instructor, you control the flow of the presentation from your computer or tablet. On their devices, participants can respond to your pre-planned or impromptu questions throughout the presentation with a number of unique interaction types. Those responses can then be shared anonymously and in real time on your classroom projector or interactive whiteboard. From your device, you can isolate individual answers, toggle responses, and even do cool things like overlay all of the drawings your students have shared. Let's walk through a session to find out how.
So one thing that's going to be really great about Pear Deck is so many of us already use Google Slides, some of us on a daily basis. So there is actually an extension that you can add to your Google Slides that's going to make your Google Slides into interactive lessons. So it's pretty easy to do this. So when you're in Google Slides, you only need to do this once. You're going to go to your add-ons and you're going to, of course, add add-on, just a quick search on Pear Deck. And as you can see in this video right here, and then you're just going to open up Pear Deck and it's going to have everything ready for you so you can set up your interactive lesson. So let's continue. So once you have your add-on with your Google Slides, it's quite easy to get started. So when you open up Pear Deck, which will automatically be up here with your add-ons, you're going to have a menu on the right-hand side. This is what it's going to look like. The very top, this is where you're going to start your lesson to get the code to give to your students. And just underneath it is going to be where you get your templates. And then underneath that is how you're going to make your Google Slides interactive. So let's continue. All right, so you have a number of choices here. The text can be one-word answers, fill in the blank. It can be a warm-up. It can be a discussion, opinion. It can be an exit ticket. There's a lot of options there. Multiple choice is a great formative assessment to kind of see which students are on track. You can either do it through their student device as they have the questions pulled up. So you can't see that the answer choices are pulled up right now, but you can add your own. It can go straight to their device and they can choose. You can also do real time. Maybe it's an opinion question and kids can see who thinks what about each idea or opinion A or C. And you can put that up on your smartboard, or in case of online learning, you can put it up on your computer screen as you're presenting. Numbers, websites, which is really great because you can give them just one website to use. If you want them to use quizzes real quickly for a warm up, if you are doing some kind of debate and only want them to use a sixth grade appropriate website, you can do that. So I'm going to go through each one of these examples. And at the end of this presentation, you're going to copy this presentation and try one of each of the examples and kind of see it from a teacher perspective and a student perspective. So right now you won't see the answer choices, but if a student was using their device, their cell phone, tablet, computer, they would have the choices there. And you as a teacher could be seeing what answer choices they're putting as their selection. You can do this from your teacher dashboard and you can kind of check like, oh, I need to go visit Timmy. He's not really understanding this. He's way off on there. And it really helps you kind of hone in on which student is going to need your help or maybe what student isn't really focusing necessarily. Here's an example of a draggable. Again, there's not really an answer here. I just kind of copied this slide from the Pear Deck templates to give you an idea of how they would drag. So my favorite thing about Pear Deck is the drawing feature. So I tried to kind of limit multiple choice and make it more interactive by drawing. The students love to draw. They love when I put their examples up on the board. And it's really also good to get feedback, maybe some examples that aren't very good, but you can do this anonymously, of course. So here is my answer choice that I put down here when I practiced as a student. But with drawing, things can get a little out of hand pretty quickly, as you will see. And speaking as a middle school teacher, I know that there are some students who try to get the attention of their peers. So, one thing to note with this premium feature that the district has purchased for us, you can see from your teacher dashboard, so you only who's kind of messing around and drawing some pictures they shouldn't be. And maybe the class is just too excited, they're just drawing all over the place. What you can do is press lock screen down here at the bottom of your teacher dashboard. So your teacher dashboard is like a remote where you can control the presentation. And when you lock their screens, it makes it so students can't draw. This can happen with any question or at any point in the presentation. You can lock their screens to get them to stop and to listen to you. You can also unlock whenever you're ready for them to continue. Okay, now that we have students' answers in the drawing mode, now's the time that I can share some of the examples that I think would really benefit the class to see. So, on my teacher dashboard, which is like the control system, I can pick some students who I want to share their work on the screen. Now, of course, I don't want to share all students' work. I want to make sure that I have viewed them first before I decide which ones to share. So, on my teacher dashboard, I'm going to star the students who have really exceptional work. So when they see that on their devices, when you eventually share them, when the screens are locked, they can get a good idea, some examples. Now, on the bottom right hand side, you can also choose if you want to share these with their student names, maybe praising some students who had really good examples. And you can also do it anonymously, where you can share some examples and maybe the class could talk about what might need to be different. So here is my smartboard, or my computer that I'm sharing with the class, and some really great examples. And I found that my students love to see their work on the board. They really try there. And it gives students who don't always raise their hand to answer a chance to share their knowledge and to give you some feedback. So where I have used the drawing feature in real time is going to be when we practice graphs for force and motion. That was a really good example of how to keep kids engaged. They love showing their work, and that would be a really good time to use a drawing feature. Here's an example of a number question where they can select the number. Here's an example of where I give them a specific website I want them to use, no other website, to come up with an answer that we could share as a class or do a parent share. Here is an example of an exit ticket or something where they could write a brief sentence or maybe short paragraph telling their friend when they were absent what they missed for the day. And again, from the teacher dashboard, you can view their responses. So maybe some kid writes to you, I don't know what we're talking about, I'm very confused. You can have some kind of one-on-one conversation, maybe some tutoring or some peer help later. You can also share their feedback with the class anonymously or with names. Here's a good example of a drag the icon. It tells you how they're doing, how they're feeling. Again, you can go through the names of the students and see maybe some students that aren't feeling so well and gonna get with them later. All right, so now that we've gone a little bit about the questions, let's practice starting your Pear Deck lesson. So again, the add-on, you're gonna pull up that little sidebar and you're gonna press Start Lesson. So kids will take a little bit of practice with this, but they get pretty good at it towards the end. I always put the code up on the board and they know to go to joinpd.com and type in the code. Now, here is where you can pick between asynchronous learning or synchronous learning. So I will tell you from experience, it would be ideal to start with synchronous learning. You can always turn on student-paced learning after you've kind of given some instruction, gone over some things and some videos and some helpful tools, kind of like they would do in the classroom where they start independent working and wrap up their activity on their own. So you'll have something pop up that's called the teacher dashboard. Now that's your control system. That's where you're going to see all the kids' answers by name. You can see what the kids are doing, who's drawing what, maybe go visit someone who's not drawing something appropriate, all that. I like to use my cell phone as a teacher dashboard. And if I was in school, I would use a smartboard as the presentation. And again, I can control everything that's on the presentation, like student examples, from my teacher dashboard. Of course, you could open up a separate tab. Just make sure you're sharing the presentation and not the teacher dashboard. Otherwise, they will see names when you might not want them to. So here I made a video showing what it looks like from a teacher dashboard with students. So again, you're going to get a copy of this presentation so you can start and stop and go back on this video as much as you need, but I'm going to go ahead and play it here. All right, so I'm either in the middle of my session and I want to turn it to student. So let's say that I've done my presentation, students are ready to now work independently. I can change it on student pace mode. So again, here's the presentation itself. So you're going to get to your teacher dashboard and there's three little buttons right here. You're going to open that up and you can turn on student pace mode. So it's now time for them to finish out the rest of the session on their own. However, want to end the session and kind of show what you guys will see then. So I've ended the session and now I'm going to title it whatever you'd like to remember. So let's say this is first period. Great. So now I'm going to come back to Pear Deck and at the top, I'm going to press sessions here. If you don't see your session, refresh. All right, so there's the first period I had there. So with that, I can download it as a file. I can download it as a spreadsheet. I can do all sorts of stuff here. I can even reopen the session, rename it, archive it, export to spreadsheet, all lots of good things there. However, I don't really have any data because that was a fake one I just set up for this video, but I'm gonna show you the one that I did the other day. Okay, I'm gonna open up my dashboard, but of course you could download it as a spreadsheet as well. Now, these were questions that me and my boyfriend did in our own time, just independently. So I'm going to kind of give you a few views of what this would look like. So going up to the question here, I can see here. So I can see that he said option C, where I said option A. I can even star to give feedback and all that. I can also sort by layout here. And I could show the class if I wanted to, that there was 50-50 for A and C. Maybe we could talk about why B wasn't the answer. Same thing for the sort. You can do it either by time. You can do overall layout. Like here, I could pick each number. We could see how close everybody's answers were without the names. Right? You can do show responses. And you can get the list layout here. Grid. Hide responses to come back. All right. There we go, only answers, just a bunch of playing around what that would look like. Same thing for here. So this right now, I am the red, green, and yellow. He is the black, so I can overlay it just like this. We could talk about as a class, why some of the answer choices. And I do want to note that I actually told him to get all these answers wrong just so we could compare. He's actually quite intelligent. But I can also list, of course, the grid view. I could point out like maybe, so-and-so, you want to raise their hand and share your answer here. You can pull that up just like that. I could say, okay, go through why. And you can see it doesn't have their name on it either. You can click show responses and take off down here when you want to see their names. But again, this is your teacher dashboard. So you're controlling this and you're controlling what's going to happen on the presentation. So you're going to see their names, but they're not. Graphing, pretty much the same thing. We can do overall layout. This is really great because some kids specifically like to draw pictures and they get a little bit happy. I can automatically see, hey, Ben, knock it off with that picture. That picture is inappropriate. You're supposed to be drawing a linear line. Same thing for values. This is a really great one here because you can tell the kids. So the answer was 2, but you could ask some of the kids, why do you think they got to this? Here, again, changing the layout. You can see like Ben needs a little bit more help with this question. Brittany's got it. All right, more questions here. You can see that. Say I can't see anyone's names right now, but I can here. Now this one, I actually didn't put a question at the end of it, but what this slide does when I did the web browser is they can only use that website, which is really amazing when you don't want kids to just Google something. When you want them to use a specific website that's for maybe a little bit more easy for children to use, something a little bit more on their level, that's really great. And it'll lock that website so they can play around for 5 minutes if they want to. But then once you're done, you can unlock it and you can go on to the next part, possibly add another question. Here's a really great one for me. It gives instant feedback. Right? You can also see the different layouts here. And I can see how everyone's doing. Like Ben needs a little bit of help, maybe some tutoring. Brittany's doing good. So a lot of these questions that I actually got from the Pear Deck website and their templates. You can go straight to the website. They're actually free to use before you even log in. But what I like to use is the add-on with Google Slides. I just find it's much easier. So when you open up that add-on, again, right underneath the start lesson, as you can see here, you'll see our template library. Open that up. You can get the templates by section, beginning of lesson, during lesson, end of lesson. You can also go into your specialty. Like here is all the different science templates and pages that I can use that I can just click and it'll automatically add that to my Google Slides, which is great. And of course, you can edit it as needed. The last thing I want to wrap up is settings. So most of you guys do not need to go into your settings. The default is already done for you and you don't need to worry about a thing. It's actually super important that you don't mess with the settings too much. So down here at the very bottom where it says require student login, make sure this is to Google. Otherwise your students can put their own name, right? We all know what's going to happen there. So with the Google login, it'll ensure that you know exactly what student is submitting assignments, questions, logging in, all that. So do not change that. It is automatically on. The immersion reader is something that I think is important. I have to be honest because it's a beta. I have not tried it yet. So it's off for everybody, but maybe dyslexia teachers or if you have a 504 student, that might be worth trying it. So to get to these accounts, you're going to log into the Pear Deck website. You're going to log in with your school Google account. So we are all set to premium, which is fantastic. That's a really great resource that the district has purchased for us, and we're really appreciative. When you touch that little arrow, it's going to come up with two buttons. You're going to click My Account. Again, we're already all set to premium, which is fantastic. And if you go to settings, here's all these. Again, I want to repeat, most of us do not need to change anything. The default is already set, but that is where to find those resources in case you need them. We are now at the end of our session, so the best way for you to learn about Pear Deck is to try it for yourself. Please either scan this QR code or you can just type in the very short bit.ly. It's going to make you make a copy of this presentation for you to have as an example of each type of question that you saw me play around with, for you to experiment with and try on your own. Even though I was speaking for quite a while, this presentation itself was actually really short because there's only 10 question slides. I would recommend trying it as both a teacher and a student. It would be really helpful if you could get a volunteer to take the role as a student so you can practice using the teacher dashboard. Don't forget, the teacher dashboard helps you view your students' responses and lets you showcase their work with or without their names, either on the smartboard or the computer that you're sharing with the students. I would recommend using your cell phone or a separate device for your teacher dashboard because it does get a little tricky sometimes to remember which one's the screen you're presenting versus your dashboard. Then with a little bit of practice, you'll get the hang of it. Let me make this a little bit larger for you guys to make sure everyone can see the QR code there. And one thing I wanted to note as I recorded this entire lesson on Screencastify, we now have the premium feature, which the district just purchased for us. So if some of you are wondering how I got past 5 minutes, we all now have the premium version. That's going to be helpful for us, hopefully teaching in the fall. I hope you find Pear Deck as useful as I have. I'm really looking forward to using it again this year. I hope your students feel engaged, and I hope they feel just a little bit more safe in participating during these awkward times. Regardless, I know LTISD has some of the best teachers, and I think though it's a little bit different than we've done in the past, it's still going to be a really good fall, and I'm looking forward to it. I really appreciate your time, and I hope that you enjoy it, and thank you very much. Have a great day.